We've got breaking news here on CBS Sports HQ from college football, where the Gus bus is headed to Tallahassee. Per multiple reports, Gus Malzahn has stepped down as head coach at UCF and will be the new offensive coordinator at Florida State. The Knights just completed a 4-8 season with Friday's loss to Utah. It closes the books on Malzahn's 4 seasons in Orlando, where he went 28-24 overall, but just 10-15 since the Knights joined the Big 12 Conference back in 2023. Welcome inside our HQ studios. Jeremy St. Louis alongside Danny Kanell. First, Danny, your alma mater, your reaction to this news?
Shocked. This is a big surprise, right? I mean, I guess we saw a similar path last year when Chip Kelly stepped down at UCLA to take an offensive coordinator job, you know, kind of a lateral job, if you will. Granted, Ohio State's premier school, but going from head coach to offensive coordinator is pretty unusual. Now we see Gus Malzahn making a similar move in the state of Florida to go to Florida State. I think it makes a ton of sense. As shocking as it is, I think it does make sense. There's a couple things that I think why you can see kind of connect the dots here. One, they have a prior relationship where Mike Norvell served as graduate assistant on Gus Malzahn's staff all the way back in 2007, 2008. So there's a trust level there of these two relationship here where you can trust somebody that's in this business. The other one is Florida State's offense needs a new set of eyes, infuse some new life into it. And whatever you think of Gus Malzahn about the course of his career, he's always had offenses that have been successful, Jeremy. So I think you infuse some life, you infuse a physical mentality where they've traditionally been a run-based offense with Gus Malzahn. And I'm really looking forward to see how Mike Norvell and Gus Malzahn build something together that's physically based, but also has an element of the pass game to it as well.
Malzahn spent 8 years at Auburn as the head coach, lost in the BCF's championship game in his first season there back in 2013, and then did spend 1 season as head coach at Arkansas State in 2012. From a recruiting angle, what could this mean for Florida State in terms of, attracting kids to Tallahassee?
I mean, I think that what you said about the national championship, any coach who has a national championship on his resume is going to sell that to his recruits. And you want to try to do that if you're Gus Malzahn. Talk about the time you had at Auburn, mention that, and sell that to your recruits. I think what's going to be interesting is the type of quarterback they're going to go after, because you need a quarterback who's going to be a dual threat quarterback, whether it was Cam Newton at Auburn or Nick Marshall when he won as a head coach and took him all the way to the SEC championship game with Nick Marshall, who was a converted defensive back to quarterback. He likes to have a mobile quarterback. So I think you've got your offensive coordinator now in place. Now who the quarterback is going to be is the next move that I think every Florida State fan will be keeping their eye on. What direction are you going to go for a quarterback? Because whether it's in the portal, do you go after somebody that looks similar to a Jalen Milroe, to a Lenore Sellers, to some sort of athletic quarterback that you can work the play action pass, or do they go to the high school ranks and try to recruit somebody with signing day right around the corner? My guess is transfer portal, which could get wild because you might have your eyes on a guy and then you have to get into a bidding war. But I think Florida State will be willing to spend, especially considering they lost out on the Cam Ward sweepstakes last year. Yeah. And I don't think they want to let that happen. If they have their eyes set on someone, I would guess they will go and get that person no matter how much it costs.
Weren't we talking on the pregame show earlier today about Jalen Milroe, whether or not he stays at Alabama or maybe makes a move somewhere else? Interesting. By the way, Florida State's current class, recruiting class number 38 in the nation, according to our friends at 24/7 Sports. So obviously there is room for improvement there.
Yes. There's been an exodus, and that's typical when you see a season like this. I think that was why Florida State made the changes at coordinators, firing their offensive and defensive coordinators to try to salvage that and to show recruits, hey, we're not happy with the status quo. We're going to make changes. And now I think the timing of this hire also makes sense because you want to get out in front of signing day so you can sell those players, hey, look, this is who you're going to have, an offensive coordinator who's had great success as a head coach and also putting up big numbers offensively.
And let's be honest, Danny, I mean, bringing in a guy like Gus Malzahn, you mentioned it, it's not typical to see a head coach go from being a head coach to becoming an offensive coordinator at a different program. What could this mean for Mike Norvell in terms of job security? Because you're bringing in a guy who's been a head coach. I'm not saying he's going to look over his shoulder because you mentioned they have a pre-established relationship.
I think that's a big part of it, though. I do think, and I think Mike Norvell's secure. in his own abilities, but he's also probably pretty secure in his buyout, knowing that, hey, if you guys find somebody you like better than me, go ahead and cut the check and I'll let them take over. But I do think the trust relationship becomes even more important. The fact that they know each other, they have a previous relationship. I don't think you'll have a circumstance where you're undermining or Gus Malzahn is trying to angle for the head job, very similarly to what we've seen with Chip Kelly and Ryan Day there at Ohio State. So I think that's probably a relationship that's pretty healthy. And I think Mike Norvell is saying, you know what? I just want to win. And if Gus Malzahn can help him do that at Florida State, that's all that he wants to see happen.